Hello and welcome back, everyone. Continuing the celebration of Latinx Heritage Month, Pregones of Puerto Rican Traveling Theaters 2022-23 Mainstage season kicks off with a new staging of Harlem Hellfighters on a Latin beat, a rousing Latinx musical play that tells the story of extraordinary valor and musicianship that made the 369th Infantry of the New York Army National Guard the most celebrated regiment of the World War I era. And joining us to share more is Harlem Hellfighters on a Latin beat director Rosalba Rolón and cast member Jose García. Hello and welcome.
Hola, thank you for having
Hello, hi Rhina, saludos.
Saludos to you and congratulations on finally getting back to in theater in full force. I mean, I know we've been doing the in theater gradually, pero to hear that you have a season in effect is really, really, really exciting. So, congratulations, Rosalba. Your work is always like on some genius level status. Let's talk a little bit about this rendition of your storytelling style when it comes to the Harlem Hellfighters on a Latin beat.
Thank you so much, Rina, for once again being there for us, for inviting us and being part of the family. We This is the revival of our production that we did in 2010 of the Harlem Hellfighters on the Latin beat, and it is a story that sort of found me. You know, I was actually one of those things. I was reading something about something else, and then I saw that in passing while I was reading, like these Puerto Rican musicians who had been part of the Harlem Hellfighters and this regiment band, an all black regiment band at the time where regiments were segregated on the First World War. All of that sort of caught my attention because I really love to bring history to the stage. And I thought, let me just find some more about it. And then I inquired and went further and then realized that some of the most amazing composers and musicians that are just part of our DNA, not only Puerto Rican, but Latin American, like Rafael Hernandez, Rafael Duchesne, all were recruited for that band. And that was the first time they ever came to New York City. And then I was fascinated in trying to understand how that happened. And also wanted to open up the conversation with our fellow um, Black sisters and brothers and the community about us together talking about this story because the Harlem Hellfighter story has been usually one sided. And very few people know that half of the band was Puerto Rican.
Wow.
And so that is what I wanted to bring to the table.
I know, and it's wonderful, and it's so important that we also learn our own history. And I love the style in which you educate us, right? I mean, it's actually a performance, it's going to be a presentation, and now we're going to let Jose Garcia speak, who's actually playing the character of Rafael Hernandez. What has this journey been for you? I mean, were you in it in 2010, Jose?
I was not in it in 2010, but if that gal on Broadway had trouble filling the shoes of Barbara Streisand, try filling in the shoes of Danny Rivera, who originated this role, right?
Mm.
Um, it's been such a great pleasure. And for me, being an Afro Boricua who grew up, born and raised in the Lower East Side, who had an Afro, we go back to the beginning of how that all came to be, and it wasn't appropriating. So the story, one of the genius things about how Rosalba writes and directs is it's not a pamphleto. This you watch this thing, you see all these incredible reveals, and that I get to play Rafael Hernandez is a dream. Anything that has a character that's Rafael Hernandez has to be watched, for crying out loud. So it's been really, it's been a real challenge, but also I've been able to really dig into the history of even more so of because it's a New York City story. It's a Puerto Rico story. The two things, right? That connection. And also, me being in New York, who I was born and raised in the Lower East Side, and the Lower East Side was Puerto Ricanos and African Americans, not sprinkled. We were together. So this speaks to me in a really beautiful, beautiful way.
And what in the research that I was doing, and your choice in conceptualizing Rosalba, which is so admirable. I can only imagine what we're all going to experience once we're there, right? Because um, the angle in which you've chosen to take, what should people expect when experiencing this musical?
Well, hopefully, I think that one of the things that sometimes happens in when you stage history is that, of course, we have a point of view, and that point of view needs to be very clear. I don't believe that there is, um, people who are all bad, all good. There's just a complexity of the human being. So, for example, we have a wonderfully diverse cast because there was a figure that I wanted to highlight. This is about the mostly about the Puerto Rican musicians who were recruited and how that came about. But there was a figure that we wanted to honor, and that I think that all Latinos, all Puerto Ricans also should know, and it's Lieutenant James Reese Europe, who was the man who was commissioned to, because he said, I cannot find what I need, and this amazing, the first black conductor to ever conduct at Carnegie Hall, for example, when he was only 29 years old. And he had the vision of expanding this band, of going to Puerto Rico to recruit musicians, to bring them together with the rest of the band. That was an all black band. And to know that they were doing something that nobody thought could be done. And so at the same time, and very timely with today's conversations, in Puerto Rico, the citizenship had just been, some say granted, I would say imposed. And so just in time to recruit soldiers for the war, right? How convenient. So all of that is sort of approaching the story. Believe it or not, some of it is very funny and some of it is not as funny.
Right.
And that's what but people get out and say, we now know who this amazing James Reese Europe figure was, but we also can boast that all of these musicians contributed to the magnificence of this first all black regiment band in New York City. There was another one in Illinois, but this one sort of made it to France, got the highest honors in France. Some of the musicians were called back to play with the symphony orchestra in Paris. I mean, we're talking about the launch of many careers. Also, I want to call the attention to what we take for granted today in the Bronx. We go by Casa Amadeo, what a beautiful, beautiful music store that we all must support. Well, it was originally called the Hernandez Music Store, founded by Victoria Hernandez, the sister of Rafael Hernandez. So we also want to call attention to Victoria's role in Rafael Hernandez's life and in the life of entrepreneurship in New York City, especially by women.
Oh my gosh, that's what I love so much about Pregones is the preservation that you do when it comes to our stories, right? Especially the urban stories, which is what we're discussing right now. And so I know you have a full cast, you have a full band as well. This is all being led by Desmar Guevara, right? So
That's right.
let's talk about, I know you did a benefit performance for artists in Puerto Rico. So I know the show runs until the 23rd of October. And I want us to really encourage our people to understand the importance of us supporting our own stories. So, what do you think we need to leave people understanding in this particular interview, so that they understand the importance of really supporting our stories and learning our own history, especially through this art form? I mean, it's so lovely what you guys provide. It really is.
Yeah, for me,
Thank you.
this thing that we called musical theater, right? And having our wonderful director Rosalba, I love musical theater, but when you watch this presentation, I think it challenges, or we see the presentation of this American art form called musical theater in a very different way, in a very Pregones way, right? It's just filled with these, I had a person, is it just challenges aesthetically what musical theater should look like, and people are just going to leave there definitely knowing more, and I dare say they're going to leave watching this musical and going, I got to go home and research more about this. I want to know more about Rafael Hernandez. I want to know more about James Reese Europe. I want to know more about this connection with African Americans y los puertorriqueños aquí en Nueva York. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, and it's about people who took great leaps of faith. In 1917, Rafael Hernandez was already in North Carolina. I dare say that James Reese Europe, even before that, he was already coming in contact with Puerto Rican musicians. It's our great island.
Right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, Rosalba.
sorry, and I just wanted to do an extra shout out to the Smart because imagine making an arrangement of 35-piece orchestra for a 7-piece band, and that music is amazing. The work that he's done. So I just wanted to. We have had a lot of young musicians come to see the show, and which is I feel is quite very interesting and says a lot about what young musicians and young artists are wanting to do today.
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea is that they're being educated in the process, and so again, going back to the importance of us learning our stories, and to piggyback off of what Jose was saying, once I started diving in deeper, I started digging deeper and started recognizing, like, wow, I don't know this history.
Mhm.
And I'm not ashamed to say that on air, because that's the whole point of this, is to invite everyone to just really research a little further, and in the process be entertained, right, with the genius work of both Rosalba Rolón and Desmar Guevara.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
that's
much.
why we have a character called Duchesne that we talk about who, wound up conducting orchestras in France. And it's really deep that you're hearing this story, and you definitely are seeing that straight line from Duchesne to Desmar Guevara that you're watching live on stage.
Yeah, I can't wait to experience it myself. And we
Mhm.
certainly thank you for bringing it here to our audience. Rosalba Rolón and Jose Garcia. Once again, we are talking about Harlem Fighters, excuse me, on a Latin beat. That Rosalba is the conceptual creator as well as the director, and Jose Garcia plays Rafael Hernandez. And once again, the Harlem Hellfighters on a Latin beat is running now through October 23rd at Pregones PRTT in their Manhattan Theater, which is located at 304 West 47th Street between 8th and 9th Avenues. And if you're interested in tickets and more information, you can visit pregonesprtt.org.